We've spent over 10 years on air, shaping a generation of action motorsports, and now we're changing the game again. The best motorsports, the best action sports, and the best of pop culture with some epic guests thrown in. I am Jim Beaver, and this is the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Hold on tight, the misadventure is just getting started. Welcome to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. And for the next couple of episodes, we're also going to be joined by OffroadRacer.com and my good friend Matt Martelli, who's going to be tag teaming our King of the Hammers coverage. We're doing it across both websites, so JimBeaver15.com and OffroadRacer.com. Tag teaming it jointly. It's going to be good stuff. So, right now, this is going to be our King of the Hammers pre-show. We're going to be talking about all the racing coming up, the King of the Motos that happened this past weekend, and man, we've got coverage galore the next couple of weeks. You want the daily coverage, JimBeaver15.com and OffroadRacer.com are going to have all your coverage. We're going to be dropping this pre-show, and then we're also going to have shows on site a couple times throughout the week, so make sure you can go over to the RSS feed on Apple Podcasts as well. That is, obviously at Apple Podcasts, you search Jim Beaver Show, and bam, got you covered right there. We're on Spotify, just about everywhere you can get a podcast. So definitely go and subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. But man, big thanks to all of you guys who continue to listen and support the show. And we are going to take a short commercial break, and then we got to do that short commercial break. We got to get that commercial break in there. But the reason why is Matt and I are going to go for an hour nonstop, uncut, without the commercials, so you guys can enjoy the show. So yes, hang tight, and we'll be back right after this on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and OffroadRacer.com right after this. Making the most of every moment can be demanding, which is why at General Tire, we think you should demand more from your tires. For more than a century, we've made great all-around tires that always deliver the right combination of performance, durability, style, and value. Whether you're looking at the ultra-high-performance summer tires for your street rod or the best-in-class all-weather tire for your family crossover, General Tire delivers for those who demand more from their tires. Find your fit at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, the official tire of the Jim Beaver Show.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP Advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today. Like what you're hearing? Do us a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and never miss another show. Welcome to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki, and we are tag teaming it with OffroadRacer.com for our King of the Hammers coverage. Make sure and head over to OffroadRacer.com because they're going to have you locked, loaded on all things KOH as well as all things Mint 400 and everything else happening in the desert. Joined by my brother from another, Matt Martelli, who many of you know. But, Matt, what's happening, buddy?
What's up, off-road people? Stoked, man. This is going to be great. Looking forward to Hammers.
Yeah, I know you and I are recording this, pre-Hammer show. We're going to be doing some shows out on the lake bed. But I know you're busy. And man, this is a crazy, off-road starts, and then there's like this lull. This year there was a lull because Parker got scrapped. But then we got KOH and the Mint, and I feel like the month of February is just gnarly. But for you, man, you're doing all this stuff. I know you've been hanging out in Vegas with some celebrities. My boy Tim Montana, you had him in a car. You're waiting today. You got like Cain Velasquez Velasquez. I mean, you got some AAA guys that you've been throwing in some cars there in Vegas, dude.
Yeah, hey, it's that saying, like, pressure makes diamonds, and it's that time of year for me. So I actually have a lot of fun doing this. I don't sleep much, but that's part of the deal. But yeah, yesterday we tested with your boy Tim Montana, and he's stoked. It's really funny. He was calling out Travis Pastrana yesterday, and today we get to test with Cain Velasquez, Jesse Hughes from Eagles of Death Metal, and I think Corey Taylor from Slipknot is actually going to join us as well.
Dude, I'm like, between Tim, Jesse, and all the musicians, dude, this is going to be rad. I mean, we got Slipknot, Tim Montana, Eagles of Death Metal represented. Like, holy crap, dude. This is pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the most rock and roll Mint 400 ever. I mean, Tim Montana is actually going to perform a free show down on Fremont just after the Off-Road Festival or Tech and Contingency. So that's going to be awesome. There's some other shows and parties going on as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously we got the Mint coming up. You and I are going to be doing a ton of shows and lead up to that. But right now we got I guess the other biggest stateside event of the year. It's crazy. We got our two biggest, well, I guess two of the three biggest, we'll throw Crandon in the mix, off-road races of the year, and two of them are within a month of each other. We got King of the Hammers coming up. I know you and I are going to be out on the lake bed. Man, and this thing, obviously we got the Mint 400, but you got a lot to talk about in regards to KOH because you guys got together with Dave Cole. Now you've got this triple crown of off-road that encompasses not only KOH, but it's got the Mint 400 and the California 300 involved. So you guys have put together kind of this series with these three marquee blockbuster events, man. Tell us how all that's going down.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. So basically, we've created a series with Dave Cole, with King of the Hammers, and it starts with Hammers. So all the desert racers at Hammers, that's their first race. And then the second race is the Mint 400. The third race is California 300. And I can tell you, if you win this series, the Triple Crown, you are the baddest off-road driver on the planet. And the other thing I can say is we are making the most amazing trophies. We're going to blow everybody away with the trophies on this one. I mean, we already make some amazing trophies with the Salt for both of our races, but I figured we would take it next level and pull something out of the archives that tops the old trophies that they used to give away at the Baja 1000. So it's going to be rad, and it's, three of the most difficult races in off-road. So it's going to be exciting. We've got some prize money coming together for it as well. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's funny, man. My studio is getting decorated with things from like the Mint 400 at this point. I'm just looking around. I've got all these decanters. I've got like these finisher medals that are badass. Like this one thing I love about the Mint, like you go all in. I haven't got that winner's trophy from the Mint yet, but I've got enough of your stuff for finishers and entrants that it's starting to look almost like a Mint 400 museum in here, dude.
Well, you know what? It's important to us that we make this exciting and show respect to the racers. And, sure, getting a check feels good, but like, man, those trophies, when they're that special, they're just cool. And there's a lot of tradition with the Mint and, the decanters and the trophies. So we want to carry that forward and just make it special for everybody.
Yeah, totally understand that, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about King of the Hammers, because I know you and I are going to be doing some shows kind of out on the lake bed. This Friday we're going to be recording a desert show, a desert kind of theme show, and then we're going to do more of a rock theme show. But this is kind of the overarching show where we talk about everything. And I guess we got to talk about the desert weekend first of all, because that's the one that you are most involved with. Because of the tie-in with the Mint 400. Obviously, we got, the Class 11 race going down. And then we've got the I used to be unlimited trucks, but now it's pretty much open to everybody, man. But this opening weekend, up until a couple years ago, it didn't even exist. And now all of a sudden, Hammers has become almost a full 2 weeks. You throw in the motos and it's like 3 full weeks, man. But we got some heavy hitters entered in, in this desert race.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I mean, I was stoked when Dave talked to us about adding desert racers because, honestly, I felt like, I have a ton of respect for the for the Ultra Fours and all the racers, but we go fast, and I felt like we were going to kind of steal the show, and I think we have a little bit. So it's really cool, and it's awesome that Dave is letting all these different classes come out and race in Johnson Valley.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm looking at T1, which is their unlimited truck, and you got, just going down this list, Dale Dondell. We've got Tim Herbst. Obviously, we all know the Herbsts. Adam Householder, man, he's coming back. Kyle Jurgensen, you got to talk about Jurgensen. Arciero, this is a pretty stacked list. You got Blake Wilkie that's going to be there, and I believe the Trophy Bug, man. This is a pretty stacked list for T1 trucks, and I'm assuming all these guys are going to be entered in the Triple Crown for the Mint 400 and the Cal 300 as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a bunch of other guys too that are there that are ringers too. Mamelli, Householder, bunch of different guys in the T1 class.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Gomez's. You can't ever rule out the Gomez's. Those guys are crazy. And then you got the T2 trucks. I mean, Polvordi. We've got Eisenhower and that crazy ass truck that they've got. I mean, this is Cameron Steele. Looks like he's entered in the spec class too. So it's is Cam. Let's talk about Cam because he's a good friend of ours. I got a lot of respect for Cam when it comes to, just in general. I mean, in general, I got a lot of respect for Cameron. But here's a guy who a couple years ago, he was a desert guy. He's a buggy dork, and, he rode dirt bikes, stuff like that. He's been highly successful in the desert. But here's a guy who a couple years ago decided he wanted to go Ultra 4 racing. And I think everybody kind of laughed, this is just Cameron because Cameron's got connections and he wants to go and, whatever. And I think everybody put him off as, he'll be an also-ran. Dude, this guy's led at Hammers now in the 4,400 class. Like, I mean, he's taking this very, very seriously. And it's funny because a couple years ago, everybody looked at it, this is just a publicity stunt. This is Cameron's going to do every race at KOH, and he did one year. And now it's come like Cameron's going to win, man. This guy has become a legit rock racer, and it's pretty impressive to see what Cameron Steele's done because, he went from kind of that publicity stunt to, oh, man, we got to take this guy serious. He's actually got a really good chance of winning this thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, Cameron has a metric S-ton of knowledge in off-road racing, right? So you can never count him out. And he has kind of the sneaky approach where it's like, it's all a joke, it's all fun until he wins, right? So I think it's a matter of time before he gets his victories at Hammers, and the other cool thing is, what is he doing? 5 races this year? He does all of them. He did motos already. And I know he's going to race the UTV as well. So it's just really cool. I mean, he's just a rad human being and just a cultural cheerleader for our culture.
Yeah, definitely. And, just looking down the list, I mean, here's a guy who he's one of my best friends in the industry. I love the guy. I catch up with him. It's one of those where I don't talk to Ryan Arciero but once every few months, but when I do, it ends up being a very, very long conversation. You want to talk to a guy who's gone to Dakar, he's gone and done some NASCAR stuff, he's tested Indy Lights, but he came back to off-road and oh, man, I mean, he's had some heartbreakers at the Mint recently, things like that. But Arciero, you want to talk about a gamer? Man, Arciero, he is always here to play. And you know what I mean? When you see Ryan on the entry list, man, this guy, he's one of those where you got to factor him into potentially taking the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, Ryan, especially with his Herbst package that he's racing now, I mean, he's a threat at every race. And honestly, I just expect him to win more races.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, it's anybody who knows, like, Ryan's resume is crazy good, but it's like the last couple years, Ryan conceivably could have won 5-6 major races. And he's just had these little teeny gremlins, you know what I mean, that just seem to have snagged him at the last second, you know what I mean, that have taken him out of contention for these victories. But I'm like, don't underestimate the last couple of years of the resume because he's been way better than what it reads, Oh,
100%. I mean, listen, it's not just his resume, it's his pedigree. Yeah. I mean, this guy was literally raised by race champions to be a race champion. So it's really cool. I love hanging out with his dad, Butch, and even his grandfather was racing. So, you talk about somebody who was built to race. Ryan Arciero is the guy. He's going to win more and more and more.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit. Here's a guy who's kind of snuck up the last couple of years, and he's become kind of one of the guys. I don't want to even call him a sleeper because he's not a sleeper. He came in as a sleeper, and this guy is bad fast, and I think he's kind of taken the unlimited truck world by storm. But Kyle Jurgensen, let's talk a little bit about Kyle because this guy is crazy fast, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kyle's been, coming up and, silently kind of winning and stacking his resume. And when you look at the races that he's won, I mean, he's won almost everything, hasn't won the 1,000. He's won the Mint, last year, which was probably the biggest win of his victory. So the biggest win of his career. So I think that people are starting to notice, but he's just a quiet guy, he keeps his head down and, isn't on social media a lot and, just does it, doesn't talk about it, he just walks it. So he's really cool racer. He's one of our features actually this year on Road to the Mint. We did a great interview with him the other day at his shop. And, he's also, one of a few paid drivers. He's on the Brenthel team as a paid driver. So I think as the Brenthel guys sort out their four-wheel drive vehicle, you're going to see Kyle on the podium a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's, like you said, there's very few guys that have made it in this industry as a paid driver, in recent years. And Jurgens is one of the few, but, you don't see him destroying equipment. He's so quick, but he's so good on equipment. And that's what's scary, but he can come in and help these guys develop these trucks, and they know that, he's going to produce results for them, and this guy, anytime he's behind the wheel, it's kind of, he's kind of, just like, an Arciero. You got to factor him in when you see the name on the entry list.
Yeah, look, I think that part of that comes from the fact that he preps his own stuff. Up until his appointment to racing with Brenthel, I mean, he literally prepped all of his race vehicles his entire career. So when you have that level of understanding of the vehicle, you know what's going wrong. You can hear it and feel it. And it's really funny because, we're going to put it out, but like the story of him winning the Mint has a bitch and backstory where, he was basically losing his engine. He had lost the majority of the oil in his engine and was about to seize the engine up, shortly before in the last lap. And Kyle he knew what was going on. He pulled over, leading the race basically, and went into some random person's vehicle. We still don't know if it was a media person or a course worker, found some oil, shoved it into the fucking car, and, went on and won the Mint. I mean, just incredible.
That is wild, man. I love stories like that. It's like that one reminds me of like Toby Price at Parker a couple of years ago when the throttle linkage broke, and that guy did like a whole lap at Parker, like pulling the throttle linkage manually. You know what I mean? Like pulling the linkage. You know what I mean? To to get the truck to run, and like I don't know. It's just I love stories like that. Okay,
Me
so
too.
yeah.
I mean,
What's that?
But that's the mentality of our culture. That's what I love celebrating that, because it's just like, look, there is no quit.
No.
You have to go. You have to figure it out. Quitting is just not an option, and it's a euphemism for life. I think people go through stuff in off-road racing, and it actually improves them. It improves their friends. It improves their family. Because when they get out to the real world, they're like, you know what? This isn't anything compared to what I just went through, at the Mint or at the Hammers or at the Baja 1000.
Yeah, well, and that's the funny thing. Like, as a racer, my mentality immediately goes, all right, I'm going to win this. And hopefully, you know what I mean, at the end of the race, my mentality still, I'm going to win this. But sometimes certain things happen. And so your mentality has to shift. You know, you had an hour of downtime, an hour and a half of downtime for whatever reason, you know. And then your mentality shifts. Okay, I can't win this, but I'm going to push on. I'm going to finish this race because that's a victory in itself. And, you know, a lot of times when that mentality shifts and you go to just finish, sometimes the race comes back to you and the guy that's leading has had a problem. And then all of a sudden you're back in it, you know, and you go, oh, wow, how the hell did this happen? You know, I'm sitting here in podium contention and spend an hour and a half down. But I think off-road, it's just a different breed, man. You know, you get, you know, a NASCAR driver, something like that, and they immediately, we'll just pull it in the garage. I'm done. Off-road, we're not cut that way, you know, and especially in Baja, you have a problem or something like that. Like, I don't want to spend the night out in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna get it going only because selfishly I don't want to spend the night in the middle of the desert, you know?
100%. And there's two guys that come to mind when I think about this, right? When we talk about this, is one is Corky McMillan, you know, with his famous quote, like, never, ever, ever give up, right? And then, of course, Rod Hall, you know, his saying of, like, you have to first finish to finish first. And that is bred into the DNA of off-road culture, right? And I love it. I think it's so rad that people just have that tenacity, you know, just to, you know, not to give up. I mean, even if you're not winning the race, the victory is in just completing it and finishing it and getting that finisher's medal.
Yeah. All right, well, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this UTV rock race. This one's an interesting one because, you know, you go back 3 or 4 years and, you know, you had the Guthries, senior and junior, just dominating. Brandon Sims was always around the podium, you know, and you know, Polaris was just dominating. Last couple of years, man, Can-Am's been sweeping everything, you know, and I'm looking at these wild builds that, you know, Guthrie's been doing, that, you know, RJ just announced, things like that. You know, you got the big switch from Sarah Price to Can-Am for this year. Man, what do you think of this UTV rock race? Because this is going to be a wild one, man. There's been a lot of manufacturer switches going on. Obviously, Polaris has got to have a chip on their shoulder at this point because they've been basically iced out of podium contention for a couple of years. I mean, what do you think, Matt? I mean, obviously, you know, Guthrie's got what it takes. He knows the rocks, you know, and obviously Sims does as well. But those Can-Ams have been just wicked hard to beat.
Yeah, look, you know, we have to just kind of call it like it is, and the fact that, like, Polaris owned this event because of the Guthrie's and because of, you know, all the OG guys, and now that's not the case. You know, now, you know, you've got, you know, complete domination by Can-Am, and it's crazy, you know, but it breeds good competition. You know, this race in particular I love because how everybody looked at these cars a few years ago and we're calling them golf carts. These are some of the most capable off-road vehicles, especially per dollar. If you don't own one yet, go buy one, and then you can email me and thank me later because they are so much fun in the desert, in the dunes, on trails. I mean, listen, I probably spend at least a couple thousand miles a year off-roading in UTVs, and, you know, my face hurts because of how much I smile.
Yeah, no, and it's the truth. It's, you know, they aren't. I love taking people out for their first ever UTV ride because they don't know what to expect, and then they go, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." You know what I mean? And I love taking stock vehicles and then going and, you know, everybody thinks immediately you got to get one, and I got to put HCR suspension, I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to upgrade the axles, and I got to, you know, it's always I have to add, and I got to do all this. And it's like last year I went to San Hollow, and I did 2 of the hardest trails at San Hollow literally in a 100% stock KRX. I just put 33-inch tires on it. Other than that, 100% stock, and I had everybody going, well, what's done to that thing? I'm like, absolutely nothing. And it's not just Kawasaki. I mean, Can-Am, Polaris, out of the box, these things are crazy capable now, you know, and I love, you know what I mean? I love that because, like you said, these are not golf carts anymore. They are hybrid race cars. And I mean, we're seeing, like last year, I think, was it Kyle Chaney? He entered his car in the Ultra 4 King of the Hammers, like the legit big Saturday race. And he held his own in a UTV racing against, you know, $500,000 Ultra 4 cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's kind of interesting is Dave lets these guys race in a big race too, which as a promoter, I wouldn't allow that. I would separate those classes, but Dave's Dave. He's going to do what he wants. And it's cool to see. You know, it's cool to see how they stack up against the big Ultra 4s. But this is again why I love Hammers and off-road racing in general, is that you've got all the usual guys, right? That have the knowledge, that have the money, that have the big sponsors and all that kind of stuff. But when you look at who wins, it's sometimes it's not those guys. I mean, the fact that the Gomez brothers won last year blows me away. I think they're great racers. They're great guys, especially because of how much they support King of the Hammers. But I would have never picked them to win.
No, they have a hella good time, and everybody loves them, like you said, and they're fast. But yeah, I love that, about Hammers, and that kind of gets us into the big Ultra 4 race. But like you said, I mean, you've got your perennial favorites. I mean, Jason Shear, he's got a brand new car. Everybody going in knows, Jason, this is his one event. He doesn't do the full Ultra 4 schedule. He concentrates on King of the Hammers. He wants to come in, he wants to dominate. And Jason, 3-time king. And, you got to think with this new car, and you've seen some behind the scenes on this thing, Matt. I mean, he's got to be one of the favorites. But, the thing about Johnson Valley and King of the Hammers is you can be a favorite, but it's brutal. It has no favorites. It'll chew you up and spit you out in a hurry.
Oh, that's the beauty of it is, look, the Mojave Desert doesn't care how much money you make. It doesn't care who you are, how cool your social media is. It's just going to hand it to you. And it's going to choose, who wins and who doesn't win, who breaks, right? And that's the beauty of it is it's brutal, it's unrelenting, and it doesn't have favorites, right? So you can show up with all the coolest, fanciest stuff that money can buy, and that doesn't guarantee you a win. I will say, though, that, he's debuting a new car, and I've seen this car, and it's amazing. I mean, it is probably, if not the most advanced Ultra 4, it's one of them. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the whole race. The level of competition is it's awesome. And just like every Hammers, there's going to be a ton of drama, So it's funny because obviously I'm biased. I'm the off-road guy. But like when I look at this form of racing and how dramatic and exciting it is, I'm like, why are people watching these other sports that only require one ball?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and it's funny too. And I tell everybody, I'm like, you can watch the live stream, and the live stream is phenomenal for the Mint 400, for King of the Hammers, Ultra 4. But I'm like, until you're at the Mint and you're standing there and you see these trucks going 130 miles an hour over 3-4 foot whoops, or you're at King of the Hammers and you see these trucks. I call them trucks, but whatever they are, you know what I mean? These rock crawlers literally scaling these mountains of like 6-7 foot, round boulders and just bombing up them. I'm like, you can watch the live stream and it's awesome, but man, to be there in person and see it changes your life. And I truly mean that.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. Like, I'm straight up calling it what it is. Like, get off your couch, go buy a ticket, take your friends and family and go to Hammers. I guarantee you're going to have a good time, and your mind will be blown at what these vehicles are capable of. I mean, they are racing over mountains. I remember the first time, I think it was like year 3 of the Hammers, I went out and saw it in person, and I'm like standing there, and I'm like, oh, they can't go over this. What are they doing? And they did. I mean, it was the craziest like mind reset of what vehicles are capable of. And it's just been that way every year. Now they're getting faster and faster and building, more and more capable vehicles. So, it's just, it's funny. And especially because of what the world just went through with COVID. Listen, people, it's time to get out and party and go have fun with your friends and family. And if you're into motorsports at all, you know what? It doesn't even matter. If you're not into motorsports, go to Hammers. And if you don't have a good time, I'll refund your ticket. You know what I mean? It's just crazy how rad this event is.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're fortunate in the Southwest because we've got listeners all over the country. But I'm like, between Hammers and the Mint, being within a month of each other, I'm like, man, how fortunate are we to live, where we do, Matt, where we can go and take in, two amazing events all within 30 days of each other, dude. It's like, it's remarkable. And Hammers, I mean, that's why, I don't want to, the Mint, it's funny because Hammers, you've got desert racing, you've got, all these other disciplines. You do the same thing at the Mint. I mean, you've brought in the motorcycles, Ultra 4s are welcome there. You got UTVs, you got the desert, the traditional desert classes. I'm like, it's crazy. These two events have been all-encompassing, welcoming everybody, and it's just one big off-road party for like 30 days, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's what it's about. It's not just about the racing competition, but it's about showing the world how cool our sport and culture is. And Dave does a great job of that with his live stream. And, we've emulated it in some regards and tweaked it. And, every year we're trying to do new stuff to make the Mint better, bring new racers. This year we're doing the short course UTVs, and we've added them. And then, I guess I could talk about it here, but we're going to announce an alliance with Formula D here shortly, or Formula Drift. So we're bringing those guys over, and they're going to be doing drift demos at the start finish. So yeah, listen, I'm a promoter, and my job is to show the world how cool, our sport and culture is, and obviously for our events, but also for King of the Hammers. I think, King of Hammers is an amazing event, and it converts you. So if you go and you watch this race, you instantly are hooked. You're like, okay, I got to get a Jeep. I got to get a UTV. I'm all about this. This is a cool lifestyle to live with your friends and family. Whether you're racing or not, it doesn't matter. It's just spending time out in the beauty of nature in a motorized vehicle with your friends and family. I mean, there's nothing like it in the world. Like, I get hiking and rock climbing, and I do that. I think it's cool. But the places we go and the things we see, nobody else on the planet gets to do this except for off-roaders.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what I say. Like, you've got people that are fans of IndyCar, or fans of whatever, but off-road, you're not just a fan of off-road, it's a lifestyle. You know what I mean? When I'm not racing or I'm not calling an event at like the Mint, I mean, I'm out there in my motorhome on the weekends with my dirt bike and my UTV, and I'm enjoying the off-road lifestyle. You don't enjoy an IndyCar lifestyle. You enjoy an off-road lifestyle. And it's one of the few, motocross would be similar, but it's one of the few motorsports where it truly is you eat, sleep, breathe this 24/7. If you're in and you're a fan of off-road, you live the life,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the beauty of it, is that, the difference between being a fan of another motorsport like F1. Hey, F1's cool. Like, I dig it. I understand it. But you're not going and racing your car after F1 or driving your car. And off-road, that's what we do. We go to the races, we support the racers, we have a good time there. But when we're not racing, we're out off-roading. I mean, I spend, any free time that I have, the first thing on my list to do is to go, ride in the desert, either locally in Ocotillo or, in Baja. I mean, that to me that's what's fun. That's what's beautiful. And, man, I can't tell people more, or I can't, explain more how beautiful the idea is of, having this relationship with nature, having this relationship with the mechanical device that you're using, and doing that with your friends and family. I mean, it's such a cool way to share your life and culture. It's just rad.
Well, and I think the kids that are brought up in it and things like that, they have an appreciation for things outdoors, and that, I think that's one of the biggest, I guess, misconceptions about off-road is you've got a lot of people that think, oh, off-roaders, they just destroy nature, they destroy the desert. And I'm like, no. I'm like, most off-roaders that I know, it's pack it in, pack it out, but we usually pack out more than we pack in. And you're very mindful of not making new trails and staying where they are. And, and I love the beauty of off-road is, as much as anybody being, just birds, trees, whatever it may be. I love going out and sitting in the desert and just having a beer and taking it all in, you know? And I think that's one of the biggest, you know, misconceptions about off-road is they think that we're just out there to, you know what I mean, quote unquote, rape and pillage. And it's completely the opposite. You know, I think most off-roaders are very, very mindful of what we have and love the nature aspect of it and just being out there in the outdoors.
Yeah, listen, 100%. Nobody wants to go out into what we call the never, never and see trash, you know? So, you know, and we lead that with our desert cleanup at the Mint 400. You know, we show by example, like who we are and what we're about by cleaning up the desert before the Mint race and even after the Mint race, right? Like that's not our trash. We didn't create that. It's mainly from people going outside of Vegas and dragging out a bunch of trash to shoot it or illegal dumpers. But that's our desert, and it's our responsibility to make sure that it doesn't get trashed for future generations to come and enjoy. You know, it's something that really pisses me off. But I will say this, like, as an off-roader and somebody who works directly with, you know, state parks and BLM and, you know, and all this kind of stuff, I'm telling you right now that the only way that we'll be able to preserve the nature that we currently have in America is through off-roading. And the reason why is that we generate more money than any other category. I mean, we're like at some crazy, you know, we're like 2% of the GDP in America. I mean, the numbers are astounding, you know, so people, you know, like go hike, go rock climb, go ride your horse, do all that stuff, right? We'll pay for everything. Yeah. But we want to make sure that these lands stay open and free to everybody to enjoy them in America because it's our right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I guess wrapping things up, obviously this weekend we kick things off with a desert challenge out there. We've got class 11s, we've got UTVs, we've got unlimited trucks. You know, it's going to be a packed deal. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it already started with motos.
The
motos. I mean, let's give a shout out to those guys because that was some of the most savage stuff I've ever seen, right? And especially Tristan Hart, who won it overall. I mean, what a savage, you know? I mean, he's being chased down by like, I'm looking at the injury list right now. It's basically 170 racers, right? And they land rushed them right into the rocks, which is, you know, the style of this is crazy, right? But, you know, to be able to say, hey, cool, I finished this is pretty badass. But big shout out to Tristan Hart, who's first, Will Roden, who's second, and then Cody Webb, who is third. I mean, you know, these guys are, you know, just badasses, and they don't get enough love. So, you know, the bike guys are gnarly.
No, they are, and it's funny because a lot of these guys, you know, they race really nothing like this in the country other than King of the Motos. But I went last year out to an enduro cross race. AMA, they had their national Endurocross series there in Prescott and in an arena. And I tell you what, man, I challenge you because a lot of people go, oh, Supercross, big jumps, this and that. You know what I mean? I want to go to Supercross. I challenge everybody listening. If Endurocross is close to you, go and watch one of those. Yes, it's not as fast as Supercross, but everybody I've taken to an Endurocross race enjoys it just as much, if not more, because you see these boulders and the challenges these guys are doing, and you're like, what in the world am I watching? Like, it's wild, man. Yeah. And to see, and, you know, and all Hammers does with King of the Motos is they just like sprinkle it. It's like Endurocross on steroids, man. It's wild. Like you said, I'm looking down this list and Colton Haker, you know what I mean? We got Cooper Abbott. I mean, we got the, you know, you mentioned Cody Webb. I mean, this is a who's who of enduro and things like that. It's wild, man. Like you said, mad props to these guys. And just the start of it, the land rush into the rocks. I'm like, if I ever entered that race, I'd just sit back and I just let everybody go. I'd cruise up after them because I wouldn't want to have any part of that, dude.
Listen, I'm a straight up pussy when it comes to bikes. I stepped off a bike in my 20s, right? But it's how everybody gets into off-road. It's the least expensive way to get into off-road. So it's important that we celebrate these guys as part of our culture. You know, bums me out that guys come back from Dakar and they've won Dakar and nobody's given them a parade. I mean, you know, in jumping over to this year, like AJ Jones, second Dakar win he's had in his career. And it was like, you come back to America and nobody even knows. I'm like, hey, where's the parade, in New York? Like, where are we celebrating these guys? So, mad props to these guys. I mean, it's why we have bike racing at the Mint, and we're going to have it again at the California 300 this year. I've got nothing but respect for these guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Two Wheels is just another beast. And I've recently, courtesy of Kawasaki, kind of gone back to riding dirt bikes quite a bit. And I honestly, I stepped off of them in my early 20s because I was racing four wheels and I couldn't risk being hurt. But I've thoroughly enjoyed going back to two wheels in the last year. But what it's done is create even more respect for what these guys do, because I forgot how hard it is to ride fast. And, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I love it because I'm not pushing myself, but all it's done is watching these guys. I appreciate everything they do so much more, because I think people, it's easy to go fast, with a cage and four wheels. Man, to do that on two wheels with no cage, it's a whole different rodeo, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I could tell you, I had an experience a few years ago where, I was working with the McMillans, and we were in a helicopter, and, we broke. And so Scott goes, hey, let's go see who's leading. So we're flying around Baja in this, badass helicopter, and we get up to the front, and Mikey Childress was leading on bikes, and he was coming through San Felipe, and we were right above him. And what I saw him do on a bike was one of the most incredible things I ever witnessed in my life. I don't understand to this day how he didn't crash. It's just mind-blowing. He was near 100 miles an hour, might have been over it, because he pulled away from us, and the helicopter that we were in tops out at 100. So, he's going through these whoops that are, roughly 3 feet, and just dancing through them and somehow controlling the bike. I mean, it was honestly, like I said, if not the most incredible thing I've ever seen in motorsports, one of them. And I remember after witnessing that, just going like, how can I capture this on film and explain this to people? Because this is this incredible performance that's happening and nobody sees it. So again, just mad props to the bike guys. They're savages. And, I hope to celebrate them more and to build, more equity into bike racing in the future.
Yeah. Well, and that's, probably some of my favorite scenery. And I don't know, there's been multiple films, but this is back when Johnny Campbell was at the peak of his game. And Johnny is one of the greatest off-road champions of all time. And, and he never really dabbled in four-wheel stuff too much. But there's a lot of footage back when the Honda had their very, high-end factory program, and they had helicopters basically following those guys up and down the peninsula. And to see him on a bike just dance, and see that footage in high definition, it's art, dude. It is art in motion. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And like you said, to watch a trophy truck do it, it's badass. To watch somebody do the exact same thing at that speed on a bike, it's next level. It's wow. But like you said, to watch the bike dance under them and how they're not crashing just blows my mind.
Well, not only that, but like the consequences, right? Like when you're in a car and you're like, okay, I'm a badass in a car, and you're doing it, like you crash, like you've got a cage around you. But on a bike, man, you pay for it, physically you pay for it. And truthfully, you could pay for it with your life, in some cases. So, it's truly one of the most underrated motorsports / sports in the world. There's that old quote of, about, there's only 3 real sports in the world, and the rest of them are just hobbies. It's bullfighting, racing, and I can't even remember what the other one was. I'd have to look at it, but, it's mountain climbing, right?
Yeah.
But, again, it's just one of these things that, like, I just think it's just the most savage thing you can do in the world is compete, in desert racing, in hard enduro, in bikes. It's just bonkers. It's rad.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. All right, so this weekend, obviously we had King of the Motos last weekend. Go and check that out. I think it's on demand now if you want to go. I think it's Ultra 4's YouTube channel, or King of the Hammers YouTube channel. But this weekend, Desert Challenge starts. We got UTV racing, Class 11 racing, truck racing. It's the start of the Triple Crown. And then going into next week, man, we've got short course. We didn't even talk about short course, but they've got full short courses. Looking at the entry list, man, it's a stacked entry list for the short course out there, Hammers, Matt. I mean, it's this event, like I said, every single day there's something for somebody out there, Then we got UTV, Everyman, the Ultra 4 race. Man, it's going to be a week and a half of just madness for us that love off-road.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, we're just going to be on a high for this whole next 2 weeks, and then we got to go take a shower and head right to the mint, So it's an awesome way to kick off the year. I'm super excited. And, yeah, I'm excited to see the short course racing. Lee Perfect's been out there, building a serious short course, which I think is going to be rad. And, I'm hoping – I haven't looked at the entry list, but I'm hoping some of the Midwest guys come out and throw down. We're talking about integrating short course into our events right now, so – hopefully we can get that done and help give those guys a leg up because, short course is awesome and it's a part of our culture, something that was originated by the late, great Mickey Thompson. And it's a tool for us, it's a great tool for us to show people like, hey, isn't this cool? Well, come see desert racing, right? So, we plan on building that back with Lee and Gaff. And Dave Cole, of course, he's been a huge supporter of it, and kept it alive.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the entry list for short course, and looks like obviously you've got a lot of West Coast people, but there is quite a few making their trip from the Midwest out here. So I think this is one of those, year one, everybody's going to see it and go, man, I should have been there. I think year two, it's going to be next level. I think it's going to be stacked across the board, out there at Hammers for the short course races. But definitely looking forward to that. I believe that's on Monday. So a lot to look forward to, Matt. Thank you. I know you and I are going to do a couple shows live out there, get some winners, get some guys that are getting ready to compete. So it should be a fun week and a half out there on the lake bed, buddy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, come out to the lake bed, watch some amazing racing. There's actually concerts going on too. I just found out Guttermouth.
I saw that yesterday.
I'm good. Like, I've been stretching and doing my push-ups. I'm ready for that pit. That's gonna be awesome. And then just come have some drinks with us and say hello and have a good time.
Awesome. All right, and we'll be back after this on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and OffRoadRacer.com. Once again, tag team in the coverage at OffRoadRacer.com. Make sure to head over to their website if you're tuning in on OffRoadRacer.com. Thank you. But they'll have full coverage of King of the Hammers week right there. Have you locked and loaded, and we'll be back after this. When it's time to replace the tires on your vehicle, General Tire delivers the tires you need for both your next big adventure and your daily commute. Whether you need all-season traction, lasting tread wear, or a quiet drive, General Tires are designed to deliver whatever life brings your way. From all-season ultra-high-performance tires for passenger cars and crossovers to extreme all-season mud terrain and tires for light trucks and SUVs, General Tire delivers great performance. To find your ideal tire, visit GeneralTire.com. General Tire, official tire of the Jim Beaver Show. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out VisionWheel.com or @VisionWheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack. and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Social media? Yeah, that's on lock. It's at Jim Beaver 15 on all major platforms, and hit up at General Tire and at Kawasaki USA while you're there. And that's all she wrote for the King of the Hammers pre-show here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and OffRoadRacer.com. Big shout out to all our amazing partners, obviously General Tire, Vision Wheel, GSP XTV Axles, Rigid Industries, Gibson Exhaust, our boys at Clean Freak, iRacing, and Belching Beaver, and everybody that continues to support our shenanigans and our good times and our fun. Oh, obviously, yeah, Kawasaki General Tire. That's all we got. Make sure and head over to Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button, and make sure and be looking out on our feed and JimBeaver15.com and OffRoadRacer.com, because throughout the week we're going to be dropping shows in the RSS feed live from King of the Hammers with the racers, the winners, the competitors, and some of the influencers and people in and around the event. So definitely don't want to miss out on that. And with that, we're going to sign off because I got to get out to the lake bed right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and OffRoadRacer.com. And that's a wrap for this edition of the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Thanks for listening. Be sure and head to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, and follow at Jim Beaver 15, at General Tire, and at Kawasaki USA on social media. Itching for more? JimBeaver15.com has all the latest. We'll see you next time.